I never believed in fight or flight, until the night I heard my front door handle rattling at 2 a.m. What I did next probably saved my life, but what the intruder left behind in my living room still makes my blood run cold 5 years later. It was a Tuesday night in October, and I lived alone in a small rental house on the outskirts of Portland. I was 24, working 2 jobs, barely making rent. The neighborhood wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either. The kind of place where you lock your doors but don't obsess over it. That night, I'd gotten home around 11 p.m. from my shift at the diner. I was exhausted. I microwaved some leftovers, scrolled through my phone for maybe an hour, then headed to bed. The kind of routine night where nothing feels wrong, nothing feels different. I remember lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about bills I had to pay. That's when I heard it. A soft, metallic click from the front of the house. At first I thought it was nothing. Maybe the heater kicking on, or the house settling. Old houses make noise. But then I heard it again. This time unmistakable. Someone was trying the door handle, slowly, carefully, like they were testing to see if it was locked. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I sat up in bed frozen, every muscle in my body tense. I waited. Silence. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe it was just... The handle rattled again. Harder this time. Someone was definitely out there. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. No service, of course. The reception in my bedroom had always been spotty. I'd have to go into the living room to call 911, but the living room was right next to the front door. I could hear footsteps now, heavy, deliberate, moving from the front door around to the side of the house toward my bedroom window. That's when pure panic set in. My window. I hadn't locked my window. I don't know what possessed me in that moment. Maybe it was adrenaline, maybe it was sheer terror overriding logic, but something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to sit there like prey. I wasn't going to wait for him to come through that window. I jumped out of bed and started screaming, not words, just this primal, guttural roar that came from somewhere deep in my chest. I grabbed the lamp from my nightstand and hurled it at the window, shattering the glass outward. Then I grabbed books, shoes, anything I could reach and started throwing them, all while screaming at the top of my lungs. "Get out! Get the fuck out! I'll kill you! I'll fucking kill you!" I sounded insane. I felt insane, but I couldn't stop. I was banging on the walls, kicking the dresser, making as much noise as possible. I wanted whoever was out there to think I was completely unhinged, dangerous, unpredictable. And it worked. Through the broken window, I heard a man's voice, a sharp, startled yelp, then running, fast, panicked footsteps crunching through the gravel on the side of my house. A car door slammed. An engine roared to life. Tires screeched as he peeled away into the night. I stood there in the darkness, chest heaving, covered in sweat, surrounded by broken glass and scattered belongings. My hands were bleeding from the lamp I'd smashed. I didn't even feel it. I ran to the living room, finally got reception and called 911 with trembling fingers. My voice was hoarse from screaming. The operator asked if I was hurt. I said no. She asked if the intruder was still there. I said no. She said police were on their way. While I waited, I checked every door, every window, turned on every light. That's when I saw it. On my front porch, right next to the door, there was a black canvas bag. Small, unzipped. I didn't recognize it. The police arrived about 15 minutes later. 2 officers. They searched the property, checked for signs of forced entry, took photos of my broken window.
When I showed them the bag, they pulled on gloves and looked inside. One of them pulled out a syringe, a needle, empty. The other officer found rope, duct tape, latex gloves, a utility knife. They didn't say much, but I could see it in their faces. They knew what that bag meant, what he'd planned to do. They took the bag for evidence, dusted for fingerprints, asked me if I'd noticed anyone following me, anyone strange in the neighborhood. I couldn't think of anyone. It felt random, but was it? The police said they'd patrol the area more frequently. They gave me a case number and told me to call if I noticed anything suspicious. Then they left, and I was alone again in that house with the broken window. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I stayed with a friend for 2 weeks. When I finally went back, I had new locks installed on everything, bars on the windows, security cameras. None of it made me feel safer. I moved out 3 months later. I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew where I lived, that he might come back. To this day, I don't know who he was. The police never identified him from the fingerprints. They said he probably wore gloves most of the time and slipped up when he dropped the bag. No other evidence, no witnesses. He just vanished. But I think about him sometimes, about what would have happened if I hadn't screamed, if I'd hidden under the covers like every instinct told me to. Would I have become another statistic, another unsolved case? The worst part isn't what almost happened. It's knowing he's still out there. That bag, that needle, it wasn't his first time, and I doubt it was his last. I saved myself that night by being louder than my fear. But somewhere, someone else might not be so lucky. And that thought keeps me up at night more than anything else.
When I was 19, I came home from a night shift to find something that changed my life forever. Someone had been inside my mother's house while we were gone. They didn't steal anything, they didn't break anything, but what they did was so much worse. This happened when I was living with my mom in a quiet suburb in Australia. She worked long hours at a hospital, often night shifts, and I just started a new job at a warehouse. Our schedules rarely lined up, so the house was empty a lot. It was a modest place, 3 bedrooms, small yard, nothing fancy. We'd lived there for about 6 years. Safe neighborhood, friendly neighbors, the kind of place where people still left their doors unlocked, though we never did. One Thursday morning, I got home around 6 a.m. Mom was already at work. The house was quiet, exactly how I'd left it. I kicked off my shoes, grabbed some cereal, and went straight to my room to crash. That's when I noticed something was off. My bedroom door was open. Not wide open, just ajar, a few inches. I always closed my door completely before leaving. Always. It was a habit. I stood there staring at it, trying to remember. Had I forgotten? Was I being paranoid? I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Nothing looked disturbed. My bed was made, clothes still folded on the chair, laptop still on the desk. Everything seemed normal. But then I saw Mom's camera sitting on my nightstand. We had an old digital camera we used for family events. It usually lived in a drawer in the kitchen. What was it doing in my room? I picked it up, pressed the power button. The battery was low but still working. I clicked through the gallery to see the last photos taken. My heart stopped. The first photo was of our stovetop, just the stove, taken from above, looking down at the burners. Why would anyone photograph our stove? I clicked to the next image. It was me, sleeping in my bed, taken from the doorway of my room. The next photo was closer, standing right next to my bed, camera angled down at my face. My eyes were closed. I was completely unconscious. There were 4 photos total, all of me, all while I was asleep. Someone had been in our house, in my room, standing over me while I slept, taking pictures. I immediately called my mom at work, voice shaking so badly she could barely understand me. She came home within an hour. We called the police right away. That's when we started noticing other things. The cat's food bowl had been refilled. We'd left it empty. There was a bowl of milk on the floor, something we never did because our cat was lactose intolerant. Someone had fed our cat. In the kitchen, a glass of whiskey sat on the counter, ice still in it, watered down but not completely melted. Someone had mixed themselves a drink, used our whiskey, our ice, our Coke, just helped themselves. In the laundry basket, one of my mom's nightgowns had been shredded, cut into ribbons with scissors. Not stolen, just destroyed. The police came. They dusted for fingerprints, found several clear ones on the camera, the whiskey bottle, the cabinet handles. They took photos, wrote everything down, interviewed us both. But it got weirder. In the fridge, someone had injected solder into the eggs. Actual solder, like you use for electronics. The eggs looked fine from the outside, but when police cracked them open, there were small metallic beads inside. If we'd eaten them. Someone had cut up all the catalogs on our kitchen counter, not stolen them, just sliced them into pieces and left them there. Mom's shoes had salt poured inside them. Just salt, filling both shoes. The knife block in the kitchen was missing a knife, the biggest one. Police never found it. It was just gone. We tried to piece together when this happened. I'd been home sleeping from about 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. the previous day before my shift. Mom had been at work. The house had been empty from about 10 p.m. until I got home at 6 a.m. That meant someone had been in our house for hours, doing all of this, taking their time, making a drink, feeding the cat, taking pictures of me sleeping, and I'd slept through all of it. How long had they stood there watching me? What were they thinking? What did they want? The fingerprints didn't match anyone in the system. Whoever did this had no criminal record. The police said it was likely someone who knew us, maybe an acquaintance of one of my mom's brothers, someone who had been to the house before, someone who knew when we'd be gone. We changed all the locks, installed an alarm system, got cameras. Mom barely slept for months. She'd wake up every few hours to check the doors, the windows, walk through every room. I started sleeping with my door locked from the inside, a chair wedged under the handle. We never found out who it was. To this day, 17 years later, I still think about those photos, about waking up and seeing myself asleep, vulnerable, with a stranger standing over me in the darkness. The worst part isn't even the invasion itself. It's knowing they're still out there. They got away with it. And I'll never know why they did it. Was it a message? A warning? Some sick game? That missing knife haunts me most of all. They took it with them. Why? As a souvenir? Or for something else? Someone else? I hope I never find out. I was 17, working my first job at Subway, when a customer became obsessed with me. What started with weird phone calls ended with him sitting in my car, waiting for me to finish my shift. And what the police found in his vehicle that day still makes my skin crawl. It was summer, and I'd just gotten hired at Subway in a strip mall near my house. It was supposed to be an easy job. Make sandwiches, chat with customers, save money for college. Normal teenage stuff. The store was small, usually just 2 employees during shifts. My manager, Sarah, was in her 30s, cool, laid back, someone I trusted. We got along great. The job was boring, but fine, until he started coming in. I'll call him Mike, though that wasn't his real name. He was probably in his 40s, average height, unremarkable, the kind of person you'd walk past without noticing. He came in one afternoon during my shift and ordered a sandwich. Nothing weird. He was polite, quiet, left a decent tip. But then he came back the next day, and the day after that. Always during my shifts, always ordering the same thing, always staring at me the entire time I made his sandwich. After about a week of this, the store phone rang during a slow afternoon. I picked it up. "Thank you for calling Subway. How can I help you?" "Hey," a man's voice said, quiet, almost whispering. "Is this the girl with the dark hair?" My stomach dropped. Who's calling?" "You know who I am." He hung up. I told Sarah about it. She said it was probably just a prank. Don't worry about it. But I was worried, because something about that voice felt familiar. He called again the next day. Same thing. Asked if I was working, when my shift ended, what my plans were for the weekend. I kept hanging up, but he kept calling back. Then he started asking creepier questions. What I would do with him in a room with the door locked. Did I have a boyfriend? Why was I playing hard to get? Sarah finally answered one of his calls. I don't know what he said to her, but her face went white. She told him if he called again or showed up at the store, she'd call the police. She wouldn't tell me what he'd said, which scared me even more. I thought that was the end of it. A week later, I was closing up. It was around 9 p.m. Sarah had already left, her kid was sick, so I was finishing the last bit of cleaning alone. I clocked out, grabbed my bag, and headed toward the exit. Through the glass doors, I could see someone standing by my car in the parking lot. It was Mike. My blood turned to ice. He was just standing there, looking through my car windows, trying the door handles. When he saw me watching, he smiled and waved. I locked the door immediately and called Sarah. She said she was on her way back. Then I called the police. Mike didn't leave. He just stood there, waiting. At one point, he knocked on the store window and gestured for me to come out. When I didn't, he started yelling something I couldn't hear through the glass. Sarah got there before the police. She parked her car right behind mine, blocking it in, and told me not to go outside. When the cops arrived a few minutes later, she went out to talk to them while I stayed inside, watching through the window. They approached Mike. He didn't run, didn't resist, just started talking to them, gesturing toward me like he was explaining something reasonable. Then one of the officers looked in Mike's car. They made him step away from the vehicle, opened the door, started pulling things out. A butcher knife, rope, thick yellow rope coiled up like you'd use for tying down cargo or tying up a person, and a rag, white, folded carefully, soaked with something. Chloroform. One of the officers called for backup. Another put Mike in handcuffs. He didn't fight it. He just kept staring at me through the window, smiling that same empty smile. Sarah came back inside and locked the door behind her. She was shaking. She told me the police found the knife, the rope, and the chloroform. They were arresting him. She wouldn't let me leave until they were gone. I gave a statement at the police station later that night. My parents came with me. I told them everything, the calls, the visits, the way he'd started showing up every day.
The police said they were charging him with attempted kidnapping, stalking, and possession of weapons with intent. They asked me if I had ever seen him before he started coming to Subway. I said no. They asked if he had ever followed me home. I didn't know. They said he'd been watching me for a while. They found photos on his phone, photos of me at work, photos of me leaving the store, photos of my car. He'd been planning this. I never went back to that Subway. I couldn't. Every time I thought about it, I saw him standing in the parking lot, staring at me through the window, waiting. Mike was convicted. I don't know how long he served. My family moved to a different city a few months later, and I never followed up on the case. But I think about it sometimes, about how close I came. If Sarah hadn't blocked my car in, if the police had taken just a few more minutes, if I'd walked out alone without calling anyone, what would have happened? I was 17. I thought the world was safe if you just worked hard and stayed out of trouble. But sometimes trouble finds you anyway. And sometimes it's waiting in your car with a knife and a bottle of chloroform. I still check my back seat before I get in, every single time, even now, years later. Some fears never go away. These 3 survivors were lucky. They acted quickly. They stayed alert. They trusted their instincts when something felt wrong. But for every story like theirs, there are others that didn't end as well. If you enjoyed these stories, leave a like and subscribe for more real horror stories. And remember, always check your locks. Always trust your gut, because sometimes the danger is closer than you think.